So here we go, page 15. Remember that for mortgages and insurance, we need this orange or pink looking chart. So we either have homeowners insurance or we have what we call tenant insurance when it's renting. It's a renting situation. The difference between the two, we will talk about in a bit, but we talked about it already yesterday. Okay, so let's go. We're going to use that formula that I gave you. What is the annual cost? It's always annual, it's always yearly. Okay, the annual cost to insure an apartment. So there's that word apartment. So it's going to be tenant insurance, and it's going to cost us 120,000, or that's what we want insurance for. We're asking for comprehensive. It's going to be a $500 deductible policy, and we want that to be before tax. Okay. So here's what I'm going to change my strategy a little bit. Really, it's always done the same way, but maybe this will help you a little bit. Focus on the $500 deductible and the before tax part, because in our long formula, right? In this long formula on page 14, whatever you do inside the square brackets is actually going to give you the amount for a $500 deductible. If you want to know how much you would pay for a $200 deductible policy, you would multiply everything by 1.10 to get you into a $200 policy. So notice that if you want to reduce your deductible, you're going to pay more. If you want taxes, you multiply by 1.07, right? So this is the times 1.10 only happens if you want that $200 deductible policy, and the times 1.07 only happens if it's asking after tax. Okay, so let's go back to this question now, and knowing that I want a $500 deductible, so the times 1.10 is crossed off. We're not going to worry about that on the formula. This is asking before tax, so the times 1.07 part is not going to be applicable, right? We won't use that part. So these two components on that big formula are we're not going to use them. Okay, so that formula kind of shrinks down to just what's in those square brackets. Okay, so insurance, let's figure this out. There's going to be, right, a table rate, and then let's see if we're going to be over. If you remember, if you did your homework, you will know this. Okay, so we want insurance for 120,000, and we want it to be comprehensive. So you take your chart, it's tenant because it's an apartment, and you look at the coverage amount, and the maximum that is shown here is 75,000. If you want comprehensive, it would cost you $454 to get insurance for up to $75,000. So we're obviously past that, right? We want insurance for 120,000. So this is what you do. You go to the max, which is 75,000. In this case, we want comprehensive. So let's write down the 454 and remember the 550 as well, because that's how much you pay for every $1,000 above the 75 you want to insure. Okay, so let's write these ones down actually. So it's 454 plus 550 over 1,000. And I have to multiply this by something, right? I'm over, right? So you got to go 120,000, which is what you want insurance for. Subtract the 75,000 because you're paying 454 to insure 75,000. So whatever is over, you're going to have to pay extra for. So it's 120,000. Some of you are saying it's 45,000. Yeah, it is 45,000, right? Over, right? You're over by 45,000. So I know I'm doing this a little bit backwards. I'm doing it the other way, but it still does the same thing. So we take the 45,000 and we just say we want to multiply. That little 550 always needs to be multiplied by whatever you're over by. Okay, we close the square brackets. We do not worry about times 1.10. We do not worry about 1 times 1.07. So insurance is 454 plus, let's figure this out, 550 times 45,000 divided by 1,000. So that's 247.50. Okay, so then we will add those two up, and that's 701.50. Okay, 701.50, that's what it is. So write that down. And let's continue. Okay, I hope this makes sense. Let's keep going. I'm telling you, if you put work into this and you practice, there it is possible to get it right every time. Okay? Just don't tell yourself I'm just not getting it right. Like just keep working at it, try to find a pattern, and at some point you'll get there. Okay? Next, what is the annual cost to insure a home for 120,000? So first of all, I'm stopping there a little bit. It's a home, so we're going to look at that other chart, the homeowner's insurance chart. We want coverage for $120,000 worth of, damages. This is an area 2. It tells us that we want a standard policy. We want a $500 deductible, and we want it to be after tax. Okay. Again, I'm going to focus on the deductible and the tax part. Almost working backwards a little bit. Because it's a $500 deductible, you're not going to have to worry about multiplying by 1.10 because that's only happening if you want a $200 deductible. So that's not going to happen. But this is saying after tax. So the times 1.07 is going to happen, right? That is going to be part of my final calculation. So it's good to get that out of the way because then you will still score partial marks there, right? Okay, let's figure this out. So insurance would be, it's home insurance. We're in area 2. So grab your chart or look at the screen here. This is metro area 2. Anytime you see Winnipeg, it's considered metro, okay? Area 2, and we want coverage for 120,000. And we want standard. So you go area 2 standard, and then on the left side you go 120,000 and you match those, right? And the answer is $309. You're not going to be over. You're not reaching the maximum coverage on this chart. So it's just 309. So it's 309. There's no overage. So I'm just going to put 0 there for that. And then I'm going to multiply that by 1.07. The 1.10 is not applicable. So 309 times 1.07. That is $330.63 per year. Okay. Question 5 I did with you yesterday already, so let's not worry about that one. I hope you're writing this down. Yeah, if I were you, make sure you focus on this week. Make sure you're like, you know what? I know it's not ideal, but I'm gonna do my part at home, right? I'm gonna focus. I'm gonna do this because there's a big chance that in life, university, whatever, you might have to do this, right? Like you might actually in college or whatever be stuck with online only, right? Like university students. So keep that in mind, right? Question 6, what's the cost to insure a home? So there it is, home insurance. We're using the big table. We want $175,000 worth of coverage. We're in Metro Winnipeg, so that's where we live. Standard insurance, $200 deductible, and we want before tax. Okay, so let's do the deductible and the taxes right away. It's a $200 deductible, so multiply by 1.10, yes. Multiply by 1.07, the answer is no, because we're not worrying about tax in this question. So now you know that those two numbers at the end that we multiply by, it's just the 110. We're not worrying about the 1.07. And now we are going to figure this out, okay? So I'm going to do that here. Insurance, square bracket. So I'm now focusing on the fact that I need to use the big table here. It's in Metro and I'm taking standard insurance. Okay, Metro, you go to standard and we want 175,000 worth of coverage. So you kind of go down and match. 175 is right here. And so it's 607 is what you're after. You're not maxing out, right? You're well within the maximum coverage, which is 200,000 for this chart. So 607 is what we want. Plus 0, there's no overage. We're going to multiply this by 1.10. So it's 607 times 1.10. 607 times 1.10, I will just look at my key here, is 667 and 70 cents. Okay, so I hope, I know I posted the answer key, I'm well aware of that, but I still think that sometimes just explaining and walking you through might make it easier for you. Okay, what is the cost to insure a home in Metro Winnipeg? 250,000, comprehensive, $200 deductible. Like basically every word here is a key word, right? And you want after tax. So this is a fully loaded question, right? So $200 deductible, we go times 1.10. After tax, we will have to go times 1.07 for sure. And so let's embark in our journey here. Insurance, you should be able to at least score partial marks on this one. Okay, so let's first of all get that square brackets, which you need this chart for. So we're Metro, it's comprehensive, and we need $250,000 worth of coverage. So Metro Winnipeg, comprehensive, and you kind of go down and oops, I get to 200,000, which I need to pay for. You need to pay for that coverage, which is $771 per year. But you're going past the 200,000, so you will pay $350 for every 1,000 you're over by. So let's write those two down. 771 plus $350 per $1,000. I write that down first, and then I'm going to figure out what I need to multiply that by. And I do that on the side here. 250,000 minus 200,000, you're over by 50,000, right? Okay. So you need to take that 50,000 and multiply this by, because you're saying, hey, if I paid $350 for every $1,000, well, I need an extra $50,000 of coverage, right? So you multiply that. Close this times 1.10 times 1.07, right? You're going to multiply it by both. So I'll tell you what the breakdown is here for marks. This one would give you would get 4 marks for this one. 1 mark for the 771, another mark for figuring out this part, 1 mark for this, and 1 mark for that. Of course, you need to get the right answer, but that's how this works. So let's clean that up a little bit. 771 plus, I will figure out what this is. So you go 350 times the 50,000, right? Divided by 1,000. So it's $175 for that extra coverage you need. Okay? And this is technically in the square brackets like this. You multiply your answer by 1.10 and by 1.07. Okay? So let's figure out what the square bracket adds up to. And that's 946 times 1.10 times 1.07. So we go times 1.10 times 1.07. And that is 1113, right? 1,113 and 44 cents. This one was a tough cookie, right? Compared to the other ones. So, yeah. Okay. One more on this page. I'll talk a little bit more, and I still around 1:30 we'll be done today. Okay, and then it's the AC that I'm going to post. Okay, Joe has a home in area 2. Oh, there it is. You know there's going to be insurance, right? Even if you keep reading, it's there. So home in area 2, you have Joe has $150,000 worth of coverage. It's standard. There's a $200 deductible, right? And how much does he pay for insurance each year after tax? Okay. So the $200 deductible, meaning you're going to have to multiply by 1.10, and you want after tax, you're going to have to multiply by 1.07. Because in this province, you pay 7% on insurance. That is recent. Like a couple of years ago, they started that. Because they want to make money, right? Somehow. How do we make more money? Oh, let's tax insurance, right? So area 2, 155,000 standard coverage. Home insurance, that is, right? Area 2, let's go 155,000 here on the left. And then I move over area 2 standard. Here we go. It's 398. Okay? So it's just 398, no overage. We're just going to take that, multiply it by 1.10, multiply it by 1.07. Little secret here. It doesn't matter which one you do first technically. If you go times 1.07, then times 1.10, the order doesn't matter. It's just like saying 2 times 3 or 3 times 2. It's 6 nonetheless, right? So that's the same thing, same principle applies. So 398 times 1.10 times 1.07. 468.45. Yearly, always yearly. And this is an important concept here. If you did your homework, you'll know the answer to this one, but I need to explain it, right? If Joe makes a claim for $6,000 and it is approved, how much will he get from the insurance company? Now, before you can really answer that question, you need to know how this works. Let's say there was a storm and some significant damage was done to your roof. All right? Just like with a car, if you have a car accident, you get to choose which auto body to bring your car to. They then make an estimate and they send it to AutoPack and they approve it, right? To MPI. They approve it and then they're like, okay, yeah, we'll approve those repairs. And so off they go, they repair it. That's kind of how it is with home insurance as well. If you make that, if you want to get that repaired, you bring in, a certified, roofing company. They come in and they will tell you how much it will cost. And then you submit that claim to your insurance company and they will probably say, yep, we approve it, it's all good. We recognize this company, go ahead, right? They will then send you, so if you say it's going to cost you $6,000, pay close attention to this part. That's the cost, right? They will say, well, we will pay you $6,000 minus the $200 deductible. Because remember, when you make a claim, you're responsible for the $200 in this case. Because watch here, it says $200 deductible, right? That $200 deductible, it could have been $500, but in this case, Joe is insured with a policy that has a $200 deductible. So as soon as you make that claim, you basically pay for $200 and they will pay for the rest. Paid to Joe, right? Because when you make a claim, you pay the deductible. That's how it is. If you make an AutoPack claim, if there was a car crash, that's if it's your fault, right? With a vehicle, if somebody else, rear ends you, it's their fault. They have to pay the deductible. You don't pay, right? But with house insurance, pretty much anything you make a claim for, it will have a deductible attached to it. So that's how that works. So that's how much you would get. Take the $200 off. If it's $500, you would have gotten $5,500 back, right? So they're basically saying you pay $200, we pay the rest, right? Hope that makes sense. Okay, 16 is a bunch of, okay, wake up now. This is not so much math, this is more concepts. All right. So you got to make sure you know this, okay? Why would tenants insurance be cheaper than homeowners insurance? And the reason is that tenant would covers belongings only. Okay? So for tenant insurance, it only covers your stuff. Versus the homeowners, right? Home insurance covers both belongings and building. And it just would cost a lot more to replace a home versus just your stuff, right? So that's why that is. What is the difference between standard, also called broad, and comprehensive insurance? Standard will only cover, how did I put it here in my key? Covers building and most belongings. Okay. Standard insurance is like a basic. It covers the building and then most belongings. Comprehensive covers building and all belongings. Okay, it's kind of like a peace of mind policy. You don't have to worry about naming things because I know that, I mean, this is a bit simplified. Like if you read up online, there's a lot of things that come into play. But standard insurance, for example, standard policy, you will have to name expensive items you have. You will actually have to tell the insurance company, I have like 20,000 worth of jewelry, right? I wish, right? But anyways, I have like something very expensive in my home. You have to tell them that. Because if that gets stolen and you want to claim it, they'll say, well, you never named it in your policy. Comprehensive is a more like everything is included. It's like a blanket coverage. So it's more, it costs you more, but it covers pretty much everything. And always read your policy, right? Like I don't read the whole, oops, I shouldn't admit this, but I don't read every single line, but I do read the part about flooding, like how much, what would be covered if water came into my basement, right? Am I insured for, you know, um, if there's like a break-in or something like that? You want to make sure you know what you're insured for, okay? And what you want to do is go to a broker. A broker is basically like a middle person that tries to find you the best deal. Okay? So an insurance broker, the one I go to, has like 10 different companies they work with. So if I want house insurance, they will like get all my information and give me like 5 options. Like, which one would you like to choose? One is a little bit more, but offers more. One is less, it's pretty good, and so forth. They'll give you options. Okay. Here we go. State 2 factors that will affect your insurance premium. And this is taken from page 13, but for sure would be your location. I'm going to explain a bit more here, right? Metro versus area 2, right? So distance from fire hall, etc., right? So location matters. Are you close to a fire hall and so forth? Value of home. The value of your home is basically, like, I would say, the most significant component, right? The more your house is worth, the more they're gonna charge you because it costs more to replace, right? And just so you know, right, what happens to the value of a home over time? It goes up. So let's say your house burns down 10 years down the road, right? The house has gone up in value. That's why insurance goes up as well. Um, this is another thing I want to warn you of, okay? Because I know some people that are trying to cheat, okay? Don't cheat when it comes to insurance. And this is what I mean by that. You buy a house without a finished basement, okay? They will ask you that when you insure. They're like, is your basement finished? Is there a fireplace in there? All of those things they'll ask you. If you tell them your basement isn't finished, and it might not be when you buy it, and then a couple of years down the road you actually do renovate it and you do not tell them, if something were to happen, they might not cover the basement part because you told them it wasn't finished, right? So you have to be honest about it. It might cost you a little bit more, but it's way better than lying about it, okay? So don't lie about that. Value of home, any discounts that you might have, claim history. I'm giving you more than 2, of course. Standard versus comprehensive. $500 deductible versus $200 deductible. All of those things play a role in that. Age of home. I forgot to mention that, but the age of property, right? And I will warn you on this. If you buy a home that's a little bit older, like from the 1920, 1930, anything in the 1940, 50, anything in that range, watch out, okay? Because sometimes the wiring is not up to code. They use like knob and tube. I don't know if you know what that means, but it's just basically just 2 wires running freely all over the place. Some insurance companies will not even insure it until you replace the whole wiring in the entire home, which can cost you tens of thousands of dollars. So make sure you always, I will talk about this later, but when you make a bid for a house, always write down pending inspection. Okay, that you will buy the house if everything checks out. Because if it doesn't check out, you can always back out of the deal, and they cannot come after you if you back out. Okay. What is a deductible? The amount you pay when you make a claim. I think I've said this many times. You pay when making a claim. Okay. Let's do a bit of interaction here. Just press T or F and let me know. The first one, true or false? Increasing your deductible decreases your insurance premium. What would you say, true or false? T for true, F for false. That's all you need to do here. What would you say? Let me know. Type it into the chat. Increasing your deductible decreases your insurance premium. What would you say? That's true. I need a few more. I need at least half of you to respond to this, if not all. You should all be. Yeah, Mr. D, can you go to the first one? I will in a bit, okay? Just wait a bit. All right, you're all saying true? I don't see any false in there. True, 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 true. Okay. All right, you are correct. It's true. The higher your deductible, the lower your premium. That's why I have $1,000 deductible on my house. I'm fine with it because I'm not going to claim it unless I really need it. B, comprehensive is cheaper than standard. What would you say there, true or false? So for B, I'm going to type in, okay. A lot of false. Good. You're paying attention. You're paying attention. That is false. Comprehensive is always more than standard. Okay, always. Comprehensive costs more because it covers more. Under comprehensive insurance, all contents of the home would be covered. Are covered? Yes, that is true. Yeah, all contents are covered under that one. Ryvan, were you talking about the first one on this page? I'm guessing that that's what you wanted, right?